Hello, Spookaroos. Welcome to Spooky Ass Shit. It is your host, your boo, Eric Dwinells. And I'm sorry, it's been a minute since we've talked. But, it's October, and you know what that means? Witch-finding season. If you're a new listener from the streets of Salem, welcome to the show. I gotta be honest with you guys, this is a crazy, crazy time of year, because of course not only am I kept busy with my witch-finding duties in Salem, Mass, as the official one and only Witchfinder General of Salem, Massachusetts, but I am responsible at my day job for planning the Halloween festivities there as well. So it keeps me all very busy. On top of all that, if you might be able to tell from the tone of my voice, I have a rather bad cold at the moment, and I cannot breathe out of my nose at all. I'm completely congested. Now, I have tried several times over the past few days to record a full regular episode for you guys. In fact, I had 2 different subjects that were supposed to be recorded, but each time I got ready to record, something went wrong. So, I decided I have to call it a day. I have to postpone one of the episodes I was going to do, 2 of them actually, and I have to present to you a remix episode, a classic episode. But this is a perfect one for this time of year, because tonight we're going to play a classic episode where I talk to my old friend Ray O'Hare about Garfield's Halloween adventure, and a little bit more, the twisted world of Garfield. This one is a rather old one. It's episode 14 of the show, the 14th episode we ever did. And those early episodes, I didn't have quite as many listeners back then, so they don't always get the love that I feel that they should. And something that I pointed out on this episode is, it seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like in Garfield's Halloween adventure, at 2 different points in the show, you can hear Garfield using curse words. So you're going to want to hear about that and tell me what you think. Of course, you can write into me at spookyasshit@gmail.com. That's spooky, as in things that are spooky and creepy, ass, as in the thing you sit on, and shit, as in the thing that comes out of your ass. Sometimes people get confused. It's a dumb name, I know, and sometimes people think it's as in a comparison. But no, it's ass. It's a dumb name. I'm working on it. Maybe I'll change it. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I got to decide come February or so. Kind of arbitrary, but that's what I consider my new season, because that's when I started this whole shebang back in 2016. Anyway, enough about that. I will direct you to the show's website. That is spookyasshit.com or spookyas.com. They both take you to the same place, and that is the show's blog page. From there, you can listen to each and every episode, even the ones no longer available on your favorite streaming service. And you can also find links to all of our social media. We are at Spooky Ass Shit on both Twitter and Instagram. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/spookyas. And of course, there you can join the Spookaroos, our secret closed group for the true blue Spookaroos. That is, just go to Facebook and search for Spookaroos. You'll find us. And it is a closed group, but we'll let you in as long as you seem like a real person and as long as you're not a dick. Okay, enough of my jibber-jabber. Let's take you back now to May of 2016, where I am sitting with my old buddy, Ray O'Hare, who actually hasn't come back on the show since. And he's married. He's another one who became a victim of family life. He's married with a kid now, so I don't know if I'll ever get him back here. But I hope so, because I think Ray is a funny dude, and I think you will too. So please enjoy this fine episode, classic episode of Spooky Ass Shit.
I am about to tell you has never been told to another living soul.
Catchy beginning.
to Spooky Ass Shit. I am your host, Eric Dwinells, and my guest co-host tonight,
Flying Star.
Ray O'Hare.
Hello. A very happy Garfield Halloween to you all, everyone.
That's right. Tonight's topic is going to be really the topic is going to be Garfield's Halloween Adventure.
Yes.
The TV special from 1985. However, we are going to talk about some other spooky ass shit that Garfield has done in his career.
Well known for his spooky ass shit, that Garfield.
Yeah, well, at least in the 80s. I don't know what's going on with that Jim Davis.
Murderous lasagna.
So, Ray.
Yes.
Let's do a little introduction for you.
Sure.
I know you through theater, of course.
Yes, exactly.
We go way back.
Way back.
Had a theater company.
We did. May God rest Loki Arts. It was a delightful time.
Yeah, before the Avengers, by the way. It was not named after the comic book character.
That's right. Had that come out now? Oh, yeah, way to go. You just like Tom Hiddleston, whatever his name is. Yeah,
we would have heard about it nonstop.
But
no, we were actually named after the Norse trickster god.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. But anyway, that's long gone. And but not
forgotten. I almost wear a Loki Arts T-shirt to our little tete-a-tete today, but that
would have been nice. Yeah. I have just one Loki poster hanging up in my apartment.
I see the Superman one that I did over there, and there's
in
the
I have them all
creepy
still.
den of horror that
Spooky
we're in
Ass
right
Studios.
now. Yes, Spooky Ass Studios.
Yeah. In addition to his theater, Ray does. Basically, you're kind of a tour guide of like all different things around the city of Boston.
All different things, yeah. I started off doing graveyard tours and sort of spooky tours, and nowadays I do more history of Boston, Revolutionary War, things like that. But still have I try to sort of put some little spooky spin on things when I can to keep people interested. Yes.
All right, and also you might as well plug your upcoming project.
Yeah.
Sound fancy about it.
I am, yes. I am in.
Tell us what you're working on next, right?
Yeah, my newest project, folks. I bet you can't wait to hear about this. It's an MBTA musical based on our lovely transit system here in Boston. This is the third or soon to be fourth incarnation of it, but I've been with the show. We've been in many different forms over the couple of years. Not straight, but this is... We're running through at Improv Boston Friday nights through the 29th of May, and then we're going to run at the Davis Square Theater in Somerville through the 29th of July 29th. And something like that. So, look, T and MBTA musical.
All right.
Yes.
So just Google that. You'll find the dates and where it's going to be and all that. So, with that out of the way.
The dark horror. It's shuddering already.
Of Garfield.
The
orange and black cat. All right. Garfield was created by Jim Davis. Mm-hmm. And he was basically...
May he rest in peace. No, he's not dead.
No, I think he's alive.
He's alive. I'm just spreading rumors.
And he was like a Sunday Funnies kind of comic strip kind of thing. But he became hugely popular. Garfield was everywhere. He was like hanging on the windows on all those like the little plush dolls.
Yeah, with the little suction cups
window.
on his hands. And he looked nothing when he first started. I have like one of the first Garfield.
Yeah, he was like
at
super
large.
fat.
He was a big, obese, disgusting looking thing. Yeah,
he's still fat, but he was like obese.
Yeah. And I think his there were different characters you don't see anymore. They sort of been phased out in the early
Garfield
like
Odie
days.
had an owner that wasn't Jim.
Yes, that's one of them, I think. Yep.
Yeah, and then somehow he disappeared, and then Odie became John's.
Yeah. There's maybe that dark story there. How did he?
I don't know. You don't want to dig too
Odie's
deep with
owner.
Garfield, is what we've learned tonight.
Yes.
So anyway, we're going to focus on the 80s, which was Garfield's prime years, really.
Yeah.
That's when he had all of his TV specials, I think. They all came out in the 80s, the ones that I can think of. He did have his TV show that went into the 90s.
With farm animals?
Yeah, it's Garfield and Friends.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But an interesting fact about the Garfield cartoon. Garfield's voice...
I was going to say this, yeah.
...was provided by Lorenzo Music. And he also, famously, did the voice of Peter Venkman on the real Ghostbusters cartoon.
Not the other Ghostbusters cartoon.
No. So he was Garfield and Peter Venkman on the Ghostbusters cartoon. Mm-hmm. Now, why is that funny? It's because Bill Murray, of course, played Peter Venkman in the Ghostbusters movie. And then, much more recently, he provided the voice of Garfield in the Garfield movies.
What?
The CGI ones, which I've heard are terrible. I haven't seen them myself.
Seen them,
no. But now, you might think it's kind of weird that we're talking about a Halloween special in whatever month this is. Presumably it's going to be May when you hear this, but you never know. But if you feel that way, you're probably not listening to the right podcast, because really this is spooky ass shit. And it's always Halloween.
Week is Halloween.
In fact, I'm really struggling to think of what I want to do, because I do want to do a Halloween special, but how do you do a Halloween special?
That'll be a Christmas special. That'll be a different holiday altogether.
Maybe.
That'll be we'll do an Arbor Day special on Halloween.
But we are about halfway to Halloween. Mm-hmm. So this is how we're going to celebrate it. Now, me and Garfield's Halloween Adventure, we go back a long way. I'm positive that I saw the first airing of it because, my family, we were a Garfield household. We saw all the specials, including the one where he goes to Hawaii. Love that one.
You were in a Heathcliff household?
I did watch Heathcliff. Mm-hmm. He had a cool theme song, actually.
He did.
I did like his theme song. But I was definitely more into Garfield.
The other fat orange cat.
Yeah. But in 1986, my mom started a VHS tape simply labeled Halloween.
Nice.
Which she wrote in spooky script font. And she started taping Halloween specials for me, because even then, I was a very young child. I loved Halloween. So she started taping these specials for me. And then we would put it on extended long play, which of course is the crappiest thing you can do as far as quality goes. But I have like a tape of like 6 hours of vintage Halloween specials, because I would add to it.
Nice.
Every year. And one of the first things on it is Garfield's Halloween Adventure, which had just come out the year before. So this was probably the second showing of it.
Were the commercials still on too, or did you edit them?
Some of them have some commercials and stuff, but yeah. It's it's an interesting watch. Mm-hmm. I don't remember the exact order of everything, but I know it starts with Rusty and Button's Halloween, which most people don't remember. It was a fox and a bear. They did a couple specials, actually. But anyway, Which Witch is Which? That was the Rusty and Buttons one. There's a big song, dance number in it. Halloween That Almost Wasn't, a.k.a. The Night Dracula Saved the World.
That sounds familiar.
Starring Judd Hirsch as Dracula.
Sure.
I am definitely going to... We're going to do an episode on that.
Yes.
Maybe come back for that one, because I love that one, and most people don't know it.
That rings a bell, yeah.
I love that one. And Judd Hirsch, actually... I mean, for a comedic Dracula, but he's actually a good Dracula. And then... The Worst Witch is on there, which technically, I guess it's sort of Halloween. I mean, definitely the song "Anything Can Happen on Halloween," which is a goddamn classic, and
fame.
Throughout
that's
the probably
interwebs.
More famous than the actual movie.
Yeah,
of course, Charlie Brown, Halloween, Garfield's Halloween Adventure. There's a Halloween episode from Kate and Allie, which I still hold up as the greatest Halloween episode of any sitcom. Now, it may just because I've been watching it for 30 years or whatever. But I think it holds up as a really good Halloween episode of a sitcom. And there's a couple other things. There's the Pooh Corner, the live-action Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, sure.
I have their Halloween episode on there.
Those are freaky enough to begin with. That
where Eeyore was trying to find a Halloween costume. So there's lots of good stuff on there. And there is, some Halloween commercials and stuff, too. But anyway, tonight, I'm gonna touch on most of those, because I love that tape so much. I still have it. It's out here somewhere. But tonight, we're going to focus on Garfield. The first thing I want to talk about, actually, before we get into the Halloween special proper, this is not the first time Garfield has done some spooky shit. Because there was a book created by Jim Davis called Garfield, His 9 Lives. And some of those lives got a little bit freaky. And this was in 1984, so this was actually a year before the Halloween special came out. Now, there was all different lives.
Yeah,
there was one...
Vague memories of this, of the book itself. Apparently, we saw it made into a animated special, possibly.
I haven't seen the animated special, but
I remember this. Each story is done in a very different style, different art style and all that. Like I said, the only one I remember, there was a a hard-boiled detective, sort of a black and white type one where he
Like
was
a noir kind of
Yeah,
thing.
and he was in noir. And the only joke I said that I remember, his name was something like Sam Spade. When someone says, "Are you Spade?" and he's like, "I never know how to answer that." It's the only joke I remember from that.
Yeah.
But I remember there was sticks in people's minds as being quite terrifying.
Yeah, so there is one story in there, one of his lives. Each story is one of his lives, and there's 9 of them, of course, because it's called his 9 lives. There's one called Primal Self, where his name is Tigger, apparently, in this one. Is that...
Yeah, that's what it
his name-
says.
His name is Tigger.
That's odd.
Maybe that's a little knock on...
Yeah, that's little.
Yeah. Another
Copyright
orange and
infringement.
black striped
Yeah.
fellow. And in this, he encounters an evil primal force, which kind of
Yeah,
possesses him, I guess.
Apparently.
And it's drawn in a
Yeah.
very different style. All these are drawn in different styles, but this one is very, very different. It's much more realistic, I guess you'd say, and it's not cartoony like the other ones. And in the end, they basically insinuate that he kills his owner with a terrifying picture of Garfield. And his owner's an old lady, by the way.
Yeah.
And again, if you go to the website, spookyasshit.com, you'll find this picture. I'll also post it on Facebook. You can see this picture, but it's terrifying. And it's like, what the fuck, Jim Davis?
Yeah, I said he wrote this horror. I guess he didn't write every part of this, but he wrote this terrifying.
Yeah. And it is referenced on an episode of Family Guy. They actually show this picture of Garfield, too, where he's pouncing to attack. It's an interesting thing to note as we go into the Halloween special proper. So why don't we do that now?
So you say you watch this every year. You
Yes.
remember? I remember watching it on TV. Might have very likely the first year it was on, I would think. But I don't think I've seen it since. I mean, things like we recently watched it again to sort of get it back in our brains. And I remember, of course, things like candy. That's something you don't forget.
Yeah.
Things like that. And a few of the scenes. But I almost went in cold again towards this. I mean, every year. Do they still play it?
I haven't seen it on TV. I don't
No.
know.
I
I
mean,
don't have TV, actually, so...
Yeah, so I don't...
Not that I'm a snob. I just stick to Netflix. Cheaper.
I pretty much do too myself, yeah. I know the Charlie Brown special probably every Halloween, I would think.
Yeah,
or at
Charlie
least the
Brown
Christmas
probably
one
plays.
that I know of. But, yeah, it was fun seeing some of the things that I haven't had and some of the songs, of which there are many in this very short period of time. Lots of great songs. But I had not seen this in... I don't know, 30 years. I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
So
to
it was-
me, it's fresh in my mind because I watch it, like I said. And when I was a kid, I would watch it more than once, probably. As soon as October 1st came around.
Cool.
Now I don't even wait till October 1st. But really, October 1st was when my mom allowed me to be in Halloween mode because I was obsessed with Halloween.
Nice.
I loved it. Took it very seriously. Still do.
And now Halloween mode starts in August,
I
generally.
start in July, usually, kind of
yep.
thinking about if I'm going to have a costume and why. Usually I have one for work.
Yeah.
Or if I go to a party or something. But anyway, the show opens with some pastoral music playing. Garfield is sleeping in his little box
He's
with
famous.
a blanket over
yeah.
his head.
Mm-hmm.
And you see, actually, that the TV station has gone off the air, which children,
Yeah.
this is
What's
something that used to happen
Exactly.
back in the 80s. I think it probably ended sometime in the 90s, so some of you might remember it. But TV stations used to actually go off the air. And they would end their broadcasting day with a little announcement, and they'd say the station identification, and
Yeah.
sometimes they'd play the Star Spangled
Yeah,
Banner
they
or
usually
something
play
like
that, yeah.
And then it would go off the air, and you'd have a little screen that said the name of the station usually, or like a color test pattern. The Native American head was
Yeah.
another famous one. And then...
I only ever really would see this on Saturday mornings when you get up early to watch the cartoons. You'd see the
Yeah, because that would be
Yeah.
the first thing they show is the shows for kids, because that's who's might be awake at that time on a Saturday morning. So you'd wake up and you'd be waiting. I remember Birdman used to come on whatever station. Yeah, it was old, obviously
Yeah,
reruns,
old
so not like
Hanna-Barbera, yeah.
ancient. But yeah, Birdman used to come on after the station came on the air. That and Captain Bob, that was another one.
Oh,
Captain
yeah.
Bob was a sailor that would teach you how to
Yep.
teach you how to draw sea life.
My mother met Captain Bob when she worked at some store, and I have a little lighthouse drawn by Captain Bob.
Oh, sweet.
It was sitting on my when I was younger. It was on our refrigerator. It was signed to me. Yes.
Nice.
You don't see a
Very
lot
nice.
of Captain Bob. Is not. He's kind of doesn't have a very big
I'm
online
honestly
presence.
a little bit. Well, I'm a little bit surprised that you knew who it was.
Oh, fair
I
enough,
think
Captain
you
Bob.
might be the first person that
Oh, yeah.
I've mentioned it to that
Yeah.
remembers.
You know Willie Whistle?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I met Willie
no
Whistle.
one knows. So did I. Yeah. No one else.
I
knows
met him
Willie
at a
Whistle.
rodeo.
Yeah. I think he was at a school.
Willie Whistle was a clown.
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
On Boston TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's something else. No one knows who Willie Whistle is.
Yeah.
I used to write a comic strip, and I would make. I made a Willie Whistle reference. No one knew what the hell I was talking about.
Yeah, I found one video of him on YouTube with a snake going down his pants.
It's like he talks in a whistle. He doesn't talk. He has
Right,
this weird
he talks
kinda,
through a whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah. I met him at a rodeo,
But-
which was also weird because we don't get a lot of rodeos up here. But. All right, so anyway, Garfield is sleeping in his box.
Yes.
Back to Garfield.
Yes. He was neither watching Birdman nor Willie Whistle nor
No.
Captain Bob.
He,
Instead, he
when the
sees
show comes on,
Yep.
it's Binky the
Binky the
Clown. So it's still a
Clown.
kid's show.
Yes.
And Binky the Clown, of course, is famous for yelling.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Hey, kids!
He's really a
That
precursor.
was a pretty
to-
good Binky. Hold on.
That was,
That
yeah.
was a pretty good Binky. I just want to point that out. Okay, go on.
It was. He's kind of a crusty precursor. This sort of crass.
Yeah,
clown.
and he kind of also resembles Pennywise a bit from
Yeah,
It.
yeah.
The clown from It. Mm-hmm. Stephen King's It.
And at the time, in the mid '80s, he was saying some kind of he was calling kids losers and lazy and stuff, which
Yeah.
seems a little. This was prime time, I assume, though.
Then he mentions that the kids want to wake up and they want to be ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
He's screaming all this, of course, because that's what Binky does.
Yes.
Because tonight is Halloween night, and they want to be in shape so they can go around and get all that free candy.
Yes.
Now, Garfield, do you have something to say?
I was going to say, at the time, Garfield didn't seem to know that tonight was Halloween. At the
No,
beginning.
I have questions about
Oh,
that.
yeah, okay.
we'll get to that.
All right. Okay.
But Garfield, right now, he's not even concerned with what Binky's saying. He's
True.
concerned with turning the TV off so he can go back to sleep.
Yes.
So he finds the remote and he
Mm-hmm.
turns the TV off. And after he turns it off, he realizes Binky has said something about people giving away free candy.
Yes.
He turns the TV back on, and miraculously, Binky has stopped and said, and posed, and then suddenly says, "That's right, kids, tonight's Halloween, and that means people give away free candy."
What was he doing in between? What,
Yeah.
what was he rambling about?
He was
yeah,
just
as the
waiting.
TV
He
was
waits
off.
very patiently
That's
a
true.
lot of times on
Yeah.
this while Garfield makes comment. Because, like, if you're thinking if you'd really be watching the show, there's just a clown grimacing
Yeah.
in close-up, extreme close-up.
Yep.
While he
Well-
says, "Tonight's Halloween." Grimace. You want to be in shape for all that candy. Another weird grimace. While Garfield's. So yeah, if it was, you'd be terrified
Yeah.
if this was really on TV.
Long awkward
Maybe we'll make
pauses.
a YouTube video of just that,
Yeah.
like us reenacting.
Binky without Garfield turning
Yeah.
off the TV.
Yeah. Garfield. No. Yeah. Well, Binky minus
Yeah.
Garfield.
Yeah. Yep. Binky minus. There we go.
Yeah.
Binky minus Garfield. Perfect. Done.
So then,
Copyright.
now you point out a question that I had. Does Garfield know about Halloween at all? Because it seems like he doesn't at first.
Yeah.
Because he says, "Wait, did he say people are going to be giving away
Yeah,
candy?"
exactly. This is
And
a
then he
new,
gets-
a new
but
foreign
then-
thing to him. Yeah.
And Binky doesn't really explain what Halloween is.
Not at all.
But suddenly Garfield knows that he needs to get
He
a
needs a
costume,
costume.
and a sack.
Yeah.
He literally says those. He needs those two things. So it seems like he does know about it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not skipping too far ahead, but Jim is describing to him he's making a jack-o'-lantern. I bet you're wondering why I have this pumpkin. I'm carving a jack-o'-lantern for Halloween. So
Right.
he's-
But it's really confusing. I mean, you know, we're picking apart a cartoon. I know that, but
That's what this podcast is for. Yes.
it just seems like a little bit more. Like, does he know what the fuck he's talking about or not? You know.
Exactly. I had that same thought. So there we go. Yeah.
And I think the answer that they would give is shut the fuck up and watch the cartoon. Then we get the theme song, sung by Lou Rawls, y'all. Lou Rawls, who pops up a few times in this
Yes.
episode, singing a few songs. But this is the theme song. This is the night. Then when we come back, Garfield re-wakes up because he's gone back to bed. Oh, well, first of all, he does some kick-ass dancing
Yes.
to the theme song. He does a lot of dancing in this episode.
Yeah, a
actually.
lot of singing, a lot of dancing.
And even
yeah.
like, there's a couple scenes where like the scene where he's picking out his costume, the song's over and he's just talking to Odie. But when he's done talking, he just goes into the shuffle and like moonwalks back into the costume
So
and
excited.
you know like does some pointing and stuff. So he's dancing all over the place. He's
not-
very
which is
excited
unlike
about this
Garfield.
holiday that he may or may not have known about.
Yeah, he's usually quite this dour
Yeah.
character, and he's loving it.
Yeah. So then he runs into John in the kitchen. Mm-hmm. And this is where I want to mention Garfield minus Garfield.
Okay.
If anyone doesn't know what this is, you need to Google it right now.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the website is Garfield minus Garfield.net.
No, I don't know.
I could be wrong, though, so just Google it.
Yeah.
But it's basically the Garfield comic strips with Garfield taken out. So it's just John.
It's just John
talking to himself.
Mm-hmm.
And just go look at it.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth looking up. And then Garfield decides to ask Odie to come along trick-or-treating with him. Not because he likes Odie, but because he says, hey, I can trick Odie into coming with me, and I'll get to eat his candy too. Mm-hmm. And he tells Odie, oh, you know what Halloween is? Halloween's the night when dogs get to help cats go out and trick-or-treat for candy. And if the dog does a good job, he gets one whole piece of candy all for himself. And he presents it like it's a very exciting thing. So Odie, of course, gets very excited because he's supposed to be a dumb dog. We can talk about how I object to the portrayal of dogs on this episode, but nonetheless, he agrees to go with him, and he's excited to go.
Yeah, and I've always found it odd, just Garfield's the way he communicates, the way his mouth never moves.
His mouth doesn't move, but
yeah, everyone knows what he's saying,
right.
including Jim, whose mouth moves, and of course Odie's mouth moves when he makes noise as well. So that's always been.
And Garfield does smile with teeth, and
Yes.
sometimes he whistles, and you can see his lips move and everything. So it is kind of a weird.
And during some of these songs where he's supposedly the one singing the song, his mouth never quite moves. Yeah, always an odd Garfield idiosyncrasy.
Yeah. And it's also kind of weird in this special too that, like, when Lou Rawls is singing. Is Garfield supposed to be singing?
I was thinking that myself.
Because there's other songs where Lorenzo Music, who's the voice of Garfield, is singing.
Yep.
So it's clearly then it's supposed to be Garfield singing. But Garfield is also pantomiming to Lou Rawls singing.
Yep, the song not being a scaredy cat bit. It's like, which you would think that would be.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention, going back a little bit, Garfield is so excited for Halloween and he keeps saying, I can't wait to get all that candy, 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 candy. Mm-hmm. Like you said, that's the thing that sticks in people's minds, and it certainly was true in my household. That became like a catchphrase. Anytime Halloween was coming up, candy, 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 candy. So still, to this day, if someone comes up...
When you mentioned about watching this, that's the first thing that popped into my head.
Candy, 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 candy. So Garfield convinces Odie to go with him, trick-or-treating. What Should I Be? Is another song where they go up to the attic, and they mention that John never throws anything away, so they've got all this stuff that they can pick through.
Keep some weird shit.
He does keep some weird... He's keeping, like... people's dentures and wigs and stockings.
And he has alien costumes. He has astronaut suits.
It looks like there's been some shit going on in John's life. He's lived a little.
The Homer Simpson, all the many things he's done in his day.
And so What Should I Be is another song that is sung this time by Lorenzo Music, Garfield himself. And I will point out that it's not scary now, but when I was a little kid, when he turned into a bat and then a big fat Halloween cat.
Yeah.
That was a little bit scary for
freaky,
me.
Yeah. He's kind of filling the screen in his big black form,
So what they decide to be is pirates, which is fine. It's a classic Halloween. Yeah. He definitely had scarier costumes picked out, but
exactly.
They settle on pirates, which
is
a
big fly in an astronaut suit or a lot of weird shit.
So he decides to go with pirates, which is the classic Halloween motif. That's fine. I don't have a problem with it.
No.
And he declares himself Orangebeard the pirate, and Odie the stupid.
Yes.
And he goes and he tells John this. And John just happens to have some sacks sitting right there. So he goes, here's some sacks for you. Just like earlier, he just happened to have breakfast just off screen and he didn't have to get up or anything. Just pulls on breakfast. And now Garfield comes in and he immediately takes a piece of lasagna on his sword and he eats it.
Yes.
Then at the end of the scene, he leaves, but he comes back and he looks at the other piece of lasagna on John's plate. And he sticks his peg leg through it. But he doesn't eat it. He just walks away with it.
Oh.
Now, presumably, he's going to eat it later, I guess. Otherwise, he's just really being a dick.
Yeah.
And he's just ruining John's food.
He stomps on his food and soils his peg leg and never actually eats the lovely... And
that's crime 1 and 2 that Garfield commits.
Yeah, bastard. And
he's going to commit a few in this episode.
And these are John's pets. He doesn't... They're going out trick-or-treating. He's giving them...
Well, that's another thing.
Yeah.
He just sends them out. He says, go have a good time.
Yeah.
He doesn't even give him a safety lecture or anything.
Nope,
now, again, this was different times. But even so, you would think on a kid's cartoon, he would at least say, be safe, carry a flashlight.
Sure.
Something like that.
Which you would see in a lot of the other cartoons.
Because honestly, when I was a kid, we didn't... Sometimes my older sister would come or something like that, But for the most part, we were left to our own.
Sure.
And we stayed in our own little cul-de-sac. But yeah, we were definitely allowed to go trick-or-treating by ourselves.
Yeah.
But we had to have a flashlight or like one of those pumpkin heads that would light up, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, reflective gear, which I always objected to.
Yeah.
Because I was like, Mom, I'm not wearing a neon vest with the reflectors on it.
Yeah.
When I'm supposed to be Dracula.
Exactly.
I'm not going to ruin the whole.
Wear my lovely dinosaur
I
costume.
work on
with it.
this.
Yeah.
Hard since July.
It always sucks when it's really cold out. You got to try to wear something over your.
I specifically remember one year being
that.
a zombie and my mom insisting that I take my winter coat because it was cold and rainy out. And I said, I am a fucking zombie. And you're not going to ruin it by having me wear my winter coat. So then they go trick-or-treating, and on their way out the door, down the street, Garfield sings another song.
Yes.
And again, literally Garfield.
Yes. This is.
He sings a song called Yo Ho Ho Ho. And it's very simple. He's singing about being a pirate.
About being a pirate.
I do have a little problem with this song.
Okay.
Because it is ho ho ho, yo ho ho ho, not yo ho, which is how pirates are supposed to go. Yo ho, wherever the wind they blow. How it should have gone. But it was yo ho ho ho. And it probably didn't bother anybody else.
No, maybe
but little Eric, it bothered.
Maybe the Pirates of the Caribbean folks were going to sue them. I don't know.
That's probably true, actually.
Yeah.
And that actually leads right into another song, pretty much.
In between that, though, he mentions when he's talking about the other kids, he references them being kids just like us.
Okay, now that's a point that I wrote down for later, but yes.
Okay.
That is an interesting point. Because later on, they're referred to as kids by one of the people that they trick-or-treat to.
Sure, yeah. So maybe they just...
I don't know, because sometimes on Charlie
kids.
Brown, they would refer to Snoopy as the funny-looking kid with the big nose. But I just took that to mean that people in Charlie Brown were stupid, and sometimes they mistook Snoopy for a kid.
Yeah.
Because other people clearly knew he was a dog.
They
buck dog germs and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were kids dressed up as a cat pirate and a dog...
I don't know what's going on. There's some weird shit going on with the special. All right, so basically... he notices Odie is afraid of the other kids, just like them, in costume. So he decides to sing a song. Except it's Lou Rawls singing, not Lorenzo music. So is it Garfield singing? Because he's definitely going along to he's definitely pantomiming to the song at least. And he's going up to kids that they're walking by, and he's taking the masks off. Now, the first kid, when he's speaking, he takes the mask off, and you see it's a kid, just like them. Except,
only not
human.
Like,
and then they go, during the song, each kid they go up to, there's like a different kind of monster or something underneath.
This part I do remember as well from
they lift up
a
ghost sheet, and there's like big hairy legs like you might see on a Bigfoot. It's just legs, which is weird. But and then another one, they go to take the mask off, and the face looks exactly like the mask. And I guess it's supposed to... It kind of looks like Gargamel, actually. But, and then in the last one, I think they pick off the sheet, and there's nothing underneath. So it's just a straight-up ghost. Yeah. I also remember that part... I wasn't scared of the animation in that part, but the idea scared me.
Yes, same
idea
here. Exactly.
That we're all trick-or-treating, but out here amongst the trick-or-treaters, there might be real monsters.
Yes.
Or ghost or whatever. That scared me.
Yeah.
And then, however, maybe a year or two after I was afraid of it, it actually gave me power because I wanted people to think I was the real deal. And I knew the adults wouldn't.
Yeah.
But I thought the kids might. And I kind of wanted the adults to think so too. Which is why I wouldn't wear a fucking winter coat when I was supposed to be a zombie or a reflective vest when I was a Dracula. It did work one time. I don't think he thought I was the real thing, but I don't even remember what I was supposed to be. But I know I had a cane. Maybe I was supposed to be like the Phantom of the Opera or something. I don't know. Something like that. And I had a cane, and I was tapping it on the street because I saw my friend coming, so I was like ominously tapping it as I walked. And he'd say, "Who is that?" And I wouldn't answer. Just keep tapping. And then eventually I gave myself away. Nice. But it did scare him. So it did work one time at least. I did have him slightly thinking that.
That happens at a lot of Halloween parties. Like one guy comes in with the mask on, not knowing who it is. And then, I remember one guy tried to do that. Yeah.
It's the Mask of Red Death thing.
Exactly,
you know.
exactly. I remember one guy did that, and he I know he had 2 different color eyes. Like, I know who you are. I can see your eyes. I clearly know who you are.
Garfield looks across the river, and he sees a whole new neighborhood.
Yes.
And he gets greedy, and he says, wait, if we go to another neighborhood, we can get more candy.
Yeah.
Which is a very common thought.
Sure.
I had those thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, I lived in an area that was woods, and then when I got a little bit older, they cut down the woods to start building new homes. And we definitely wanted to go and investigate this new neighborhood. And also because they were big homes. We were like, rich houses like that? Rich folks? Like, we all lived in little ranch houses built in the 50s or whatever. So when we saw these new, Insta houses coming in, we were like, these people are rich. They're going to give out, like, full-size candy bars probably, which was always what you were looking for.
Nice.
Yeah. So he wanted to cross the river and go to the new neighborhood.
Sure.
So then that's when he commits the second crime, aside from stealing John's food. He goes and steals a boat. Actually, it might be the third if you count the breakfast. Although John offered him the breakfast.
That's true.
So I guess that's not...
he offered.
Yeah. So he steals a
little,
boat.
Little rim shot after each.
Yeah.
Well, that was when he was making fun of Odie.
He steals a boat. So they get in the boat, and they start to sail across the river. But then Odie purposely accidentally, throws the oars out of the boat. So they don't have a way to sail themselves. Also, I noticed, by the way, and I think this is the first time I noticed it, maybe just because it was the first time I was really paying attention, the boat's named Caroline.
I just, at the end I noticed that.
Yeah.
Not at the very end, they show it for a long time on the screen,
So I don't know, it must be somebody.
Yeah, Carolyn, Carolyn, yeah.
So anyway, they're on Caroline, and they're drifting out to sea, presumably. And Garfield even laments this in the boat, and he starts to feel shitty about his life and the things that he won't get to do and what he wishes he could do. You look like you had something to say.
No, I'm saying this kind of leads into what we'll talk about like an hour from now, perhaps. And did they ever mention him living by a large body of water? I don't think that's ever really brought up ever.
Up before,
large, like almost like weird backwoods.
A large body of water that apparently can contain an island.
It's an island, exactly.
Because that's where they wash up on. They wash up on the shores of this island, on which stands a single house.
Yes.
And it's, of course, your classic spooky old house. But there's a light. They decide they're going to go and investigate this house. So Garfield, at this point, decides he's going to commit yet another crime and try to break into the house. And he bravely tells Odie, I'm going to kick the door down. You go in and investigate. But Garfield is such a pussy that he can't break down the door. And so then they just decide to open it, which I guess didn't occur to him first, to just try the knob, you know. But he tries it, and then they get into the house. And it looks like a big old empty house.
Yeah, with a roaring fire.
With a roaring fire.
In the fireplace.
They're very excited to see.
They don't question it. It's like,
they don't say, oh, someone probably lit this. They just say, oh, let's go warm ourselves by the fire. So they do that, but then they turn around. And who is sitting in a chair directly across from the fire? A scary-ass old man.
Scary-ass old man who is animated unlike anything you've ever seen in a Garfield cartoon.
No, he's very bumpy.
Yeah.
I guess I would describe him. He doesn't look that terrifying, actually.
No.
But he's just very unusual looking.
He's dressed plainly. He just has a nice,
he's just dressed like a regular guy.
old man.
Yeah.
But he's very well animated for one of these type of shows.
And, but before he even says anything, Garfield and Odie get very frightened by him. And they start running in a circle in front of the fireplace. Just take a listen to this and tell me, going back to our backmasking episode where we did some experiments in this kind of thing, tell me if you can hear anything here. All right, did you hear anything in that? It definitely, like they're yelling, but then it definitely sounds like Garfield says words. And there's been some debate over the words. But some people say it sounds like he's saying something like watch it. However, some people are clearly hearing run, fuck it. As in maybe he's saying fuck the candy, fuck everything else, just run. Fuck it, run.
So yeah, he replayed this for me because I was unaware of it either. And that's what I heard without him telling me about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I'll replay it now.
All right.
Now that you know what it's supposed to say, you'll probably hear it because that's how it works.
Yeah.
That's what we learned in our episode about backmasking or hidden messages in rock music. You can look that episode up. So here's that clip again. I don't know. Sounds pretty clear to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like run, fuck it. And that's probably what I'd be saying too.
Yeah, if this creepy old man.
Now, the old man has a great creepy old voice.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts to tell a story about pirates. And he tells them that they've arrived on a bad night.
Mm-hmm.
Because these pirates, 100 years ago,
100 years ago,
buried treasure on this island because they were trying to get away from, the police or whatever that were chasing them. And their ship was too heavy to be fast, so they had to bury some of their treasure. But they made a deal that they would return on Halloween night, 100 years in the future, even if it meant that they had to return from the grave.
Dun, dun.
And the old man says they had a 10-year-old cabin boy on this pirate ship. And how do I know this story? Because I was that cabin boy. Which means then,
So, yeah.
this old man is not just an old man. He's a fucking old man. He's 110 years old.
110 years old.
Now, he warns Odie and Garfield about this, about the pirates coming. And then he says, you people should get out of here because the pirates are coming. And I never took the gold because I knew the pirates would find me somehow, some way. So I've just been, chilling here. Now, then he steals the boat. He steals Garfield and Odie's boat. And he sails away on it with their candy. Which Garfield is obviously very upset about.
He's a very
upset that
spry old man
Yeah.
as well, 110-year-old dude.
Now, here's my question.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So the pirates buried the gold on that island 100 years ago when he was 10 years old. Has he been staying on that island all that time then? The old man? Like, has he just been hanging out in that house for 100 years?
Years. And
Or did he,
was this,
go
this
away?
Big chance when this cat and this dog rowed his
Right,
boat
and
to
he
his
fi-
house.
he was like, "Oh, find me, I can get
"Sayonara,
away."
suckers. Yeah, and he gets...
Or did he just decide to go visit the house, but then leave before? Like, why would he
Why
go
would
and
he come here
visit
on that particular night, too? Why
Right.
would he be there on the night when
and
the
then
pirates
leave
are going to
before
come
the
back?
pirates come?
Yeah.
If that's what he's
It's this
afraid
big night,
of.
and then he just runs off right before midnight.
And if he did that, you would think he already had a boat. What's the story with this guy?
Yeah, that's true.
Again, I'm sure the creators would say, just watch the fucking cartoon. But I'm just saying, we could rewrite this, or at
You
least
get
give it a
out there,
backstory.
And when they see him, he's already gone. He's already in the boat.
There's no
He's
chance they're
going
gonna catch
away. Yeah.
Yeah. But Garfield and Odie, aside from being pissed about the candy, they convince themselves. Oh, by the way, Jim Davis himself says that we're not supposed to know if the old man is real or if he's a ghost. So I guess maybe if he's a ghost, maybe that explains a little bit more. I don't know. I still don't like it.
Yeah. You still swipe the boat.
Yeah.
Well,
but maybe he did that because he's a ghost and he's being a dick.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still don't like it.
Yeah. Plot holes.
All right.
Oh, Davis.
Then Garfield and Odie are trying to convince themselves that the old man was just a crazy old loon and there's no pirates ghost coming. But then the clock strikes midnight. And they look out the door and they see a phantom ship rolling in off the fog. They see ghost pirates coming out from the ship. And now, as a kid, these ghost pirates are actually pretty scary.
They are.
Because they're drawn much more realistic than anything else. Again, kind of like the old man.
Well animated.
Even more realistic than the old man. And they look like skulls and, skeletal ghost pirates. Garfield and Odie, again, run around in a circle and they play the same audio, exact same audio, in which Garfield may be heard to say, "Run, fuck it." They run in and hide in a cabinet. And the ghosts come in, and you see them kind of pop up their treasure magically after they do a little circle jerk dance. Everything seems like it's going to go fine. They're going to take their treasure and leave. But of course, Odie has to fuck it up.
Odie.
Poor Odie. And he's got to sneeze right at that moment. And he sneezes so hard that he opens the cabinet doors. And in a moment that I always found funny, and still kind of do actually when that happens, the doors open, and the pirate ghosts look over, and Garfield and Odie are just standing there, and Garfield gives a big smile and reaches out and closes the doors. Says maybe they didn't see us.
Yep, one, then the other. Made me laugh out loud. I hadn't seen that in 30
Yeah,
years, and I
funny,
enjoyed that
right?
bit. Good timing.
Yeah. Well, guess what? The ghost did see him, of course. But now, an interesting note. In an interview I read with Jim Davis about this special, he mentions that none of the characters were allowed to touch each other in what could even be perceived as a threatening manner. For example, originally they had drawn it in one scene where Garfield was touching John's shoulder, and they had to redraw it so that he was touching his cheek, so that it was clear that he wasn't trying to strangle John.
Wow.
They said the censors were very particular about stuff like that. So you see these ghosts chase them, but they don't grab them or anything that. And basically what happens is Odie and Garfield decide to make a swim for it. So they jump into the water and they start swimming. Except, of course, Garfield is a cat. Cats don't like water. And Garfield realizes, wait a minute, I don't know how to swim.
Yes.
And he starts to drown. Luckily, stupid Odie, the dog, does know how to swim. Doggy paddle, of course.
Doggy paddle, yeah.
So he grabs Garfield and he pulls him up to safety.
It was quite a perilous scene, too, for Garfield. It really
and Garfield
was.
loses his hat, which always made me sad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he loses
Garfield
his hat in the water.
Odie saves the day, yeah.
So they get up on shore, and by chance, on shore, they find their boat with the candy still there.
Where's the old man?
They don't seem too concerned about the old
they
man.
don't
I'd
care.
be worried about him. But we will find out about
Yes,
the
we
old
will.
man later on. So they run to the boat, and they grab their candy. And Garfield is so grateful to Odie for saving his life and going with him on this Halloween adventure that instead of just giving him the piece of candy that he promised Odie, he does the right thing and gives Odie a full bag of candy. Then Garfield turns on the TV. I guess he likes to fall asleep with the TV on. I'm no stranger to that myself.
Who doesn't?
And guess who's on the TV? The old man wearing Garfield's pirate hat, or at least a very similar hat.
My God.
Made by the same maker. And he says that he's there to introduce a night of pirate movies, pirate movie marathon.
Pirate movie marathon. A staple of every Halloween night.
Yeah.
The pirate movie marathon.
And Garfield decides at that point he's just going to turn the TV off and go to bed.
And meanwhile, Mickey the Clown is on a different channel, saying nothing, grimacing evilly.
Just waiting for Garfield to turn the station.
At the screen saying, "Did you have a fun Halloween adventure?" Yeah, something terrible like that.
And thus ends Garfield's Halloween adventure. It really is a classic.
It
and
is.
if you are into Halloween specials and you're looking for something to watch, or you want to introduce your kids to something that would be worth their while, Garfield's Halloween special is a good one. However, I will qualify it by saying that it might be a little scary for the younger viewers.
Possibly, yeah.
All right. Now, that was not Garfield's only Halloween adventure, however. It was his only animated one. As far as I know, there's no other Garfield Halloween special. Get on it, Jim Davis. I'd like to see what you come up with. We can help you. We can help you fill those plot holes that you left. But in 1989, he did do a Halloween series in the comic strip. And it's now referred to as the Alone series. And it upset his syndicators. Comic strips work, they syndicate to papers. So they can be shown in all different papers. So the syndicators would come to him and say, Jim, what are you doing here? This isn't like a funny, there's no joke here. What is it? Because it was a whole series of strips. It wasn't just one day. It was, I don't know if he did it daily or probably weekly in the Sunday Funnies.
I'm not sure which episode ended, which strip.
But it ended differently. The first one is just Garfield waking up and basically saying like, hey, this doesn't look like my house. What's going on? Where is everybody? And he looks out the door and he just says, I'm home alone or something like that. And he realizes he's alone. And that's the end of the strip for that week. The next one is when he realizes that John and Odie aren't there. He goes looking for him. And he says...
Well, then this previous one end with, "You have no idea how alone you are." Was
Well,
that this
when
one?
That's a later one, but that's
okay. Spoiler.
I don't remember the exact.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact order, but I think it must be probably this one because he goes around looking for John.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah.
He goes around looking for John and Odie, and he realizes he can't find him anywhere, and he says like, "Wait, there's nobody here. I'm alone." And then like the narration title, I don't what. There's probably a technical word for it. I don't know it.
Caption. Perhaps,
yeah, but the caption, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. The caption says, "You have no idea how alone you are." That's how I picture it sounding anyway. And that's the end of that week's strip.
Hilarious.
So you can see why people were getting nervous. I'm like, what the fuck, Jim Davis? Like, it's not really terrifying yet.
This is probably a daily strip, I would think. Maybe up to Halloween.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
In the interview I've read with Jim Davis where he talks about this strip, he says, yeah, I don't really know how to think about that strip, that series now. He says he's not like, he doesn't feel bad about it, but he's not sure it worked like the way he wanted it to work either, and that it was like too much for people. And he said, I wanted to do something scary for Halloween, but I didn't want to do, he's like, he basically said he thought the ideas of like vampires and cobwebs and chains and all that stuff was kind of played out. So he wanted to do something that he found scary and that he thought Garfield would find scary. And to him, that was loneliness. This is some deep water for a Sunday comic strip. And it's only going to get deeper because now the caption plates on the comic strips get really deep. So Garfield realizes he's alone. There's one scene earlier in where he has a hallucination where he thinks he sees John and John offers him breakfast and he goes to take it. And then that's when he realizes there's no John there and he's just in this big, empty, like rotting out house. And he's looking through it and he sees it's an old abandoned house and he finds pictures of John and Odie and everything. But he says, it looks like nobody's lived here for years. And it says, the caption says, this is an exact quote, locked fast within a time in which he does not exist. Garfield grapples with his greatest fear, loneliness.
Hilarious.
Then, the next week, again, he's going around the house seeing how alone he is and having these weird visions. It ends with a close-up on his eye.
Oh, yes.
Which is like the classic, like, crazy eye by now, like the red and swirls and all that stuff. And the caption says, after years of taking life for granted, Garfield is shaken by the horrifying vision of the inevitable process called time. And there is a ... there, so that pause is written in.
Yes. And
it says that he's got one weapon to fight against this. Denial. And then from then on, you see him basically trying to imagine a happy life with John and Odie, even though we see that there's nothing there. He's basically gone crazy. Yeah. And he's hallucinating that John and Odie are there and giving him breakfast and all this stuff. And then we get to the final caption, which is a nice cheery message for all the kids out there.
Which is, an imagination is a powerful tool. It can tint memories of the past, shade perceptions of the present, or paint a future so vivid that it could entice or terrify, all depending upon how we conduct ourselves today. End.
Now, I think it's good for artists of any kind, including comic artists, to explore themes that they're interested in, and even if they might be a little bit more adult. But the thing is, you have to remember, this was like at the height of Garfield mania, and it really was a mania.
89, right?
Yeah.
So very much so. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Garfield was huge. They had the specials they were probably airing yearly at this point. And he had Garfield and Friends was, I believe, on the air by this point.
Yeah,
if not on the air, it was
89 was an
on.
insane year for pop culture in general. Oh, yeah.
Definitely the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade balloon and everything. It seemed like Garfield always got stuck on a light post.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a weird time to choose to do a story like that.
Some art house, insane.
Yeah. It was a really like Twilight-y Zone episode of Garfield. There's some fucked up shit going on in the Garfield universe. I don't know. It seems like Jim Davis is an interesting guy, though. Well, Jim, seriously, if you have any inkling that you want to do another Garfield Halloween special, please
do
give us a call.
Mm-hmm.
We'd love to see it, and if there's anything we can do to help, let us know. You heard I do a pretty good Binky the Clown.
Yeah, that was lovely.
So I can do the
delightful.
voice. I can't do a very good Lorenzo music voice,
No,
I don't think.
he rest in peace. Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately he's passed away.
Yes, he was also one of the gummy bears.
But I don't know, maybe you could try to get Bill Murray. He doesn't really sound like Lorenzo music. But
No, that's true.
anyway. All right, then. I guess that wraps it up for this episode.
you did it.
All right.
You made it through the Garfield Halloween extravaganza.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Huzzah.
And, it's nice to do lighter topics on the show sometimes. We do, last week we were talking about people who died on a mountain, and there's, some gruesome pictures to go along with it. This one, it's much lighter, and it's nice to do light subjects every once in a while.
Although, some of the stuff can be even creepier, seeing a usual light, funny character in such a
true.
dreadful atmosphere.
All right. Well, I hope I didn't give anyone... I hope me and Garfield didn't give anyone too many terrible nightmares. And like I said, we'll review more from that 1986 tape.
Oh.
That started in 1986 anyway, that my mom made.
Nice.
But, All right, folks. Don't forget, find us on the internet at spookyasshit.com. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/spookyas. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, and please rate us favorably. We would love that. You don't know how happy it makes me to see those numbers going up and positive ratings and everything. It makes my day. So please do it. I got nothing else to live for. And just kidding.
Dark. It's true.
It's my only weapon.
Denial.
Until next time, dear listeners, don't be afraid. Candy, 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 candy.
Or Binky will eat your soul. Good night.
I'll swallow your soul.
Remember, kids, if you don't exercise with Binky, you're gonna grow up to be worthless!
I hate you, Binky.